Good morning and welcome back to school. We're good. It's an honor to serve you as superintendent of schools. This is my 32nd year in public education, and I'm excited for a new year, and I certainly hope you are as well. As I've stated many times before, one of the greatest things about the field of education is that there's a new beginning and a fresh start each and every year. This year is no exception, and I look forward to working with you to continue creating a positive school culture for one another as well as the students that we serve. Please join me in welcoming SPASH students Shay Casey to the stage to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by Natalie Kang, Rachel Wadena, Noah Tolbert, and Thomas Felt, who will perform the national anthem.
Please stand and join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming,
and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night
that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
That was beautiful. Thank you so much for joining this morning. I'm sure you had nothing else to do this morning. As we begin the new school year, I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize the work that our school board does on behalf of our students of the Stevens Point Area Public School District. Being a school board member is a difficult and thankless job, yet it is one that plays a vital role within public education. School board members basically serve as volunteers representing our community and give graciously of their time and talents. Joining us today are President Meg Erler and Vice President Chris Scott. Thank you for coming this morning. Thank you, board members, for your commitment to our community and the school district. Your dedication is greatly appreciated. Let's give them a hand. I would also like to personally thank the school board for entrusting in me to lead the school district and for working together to become a unified board. Our district's growth and success will be reflected by our ability to continue building a strong working relationship with each other based on trust and respect. At this time, please welcome Board President Meg Erler.
Morning. Welcome, everyone, to the school year 2017-2018. I wanted to take just a minute, I guess, for all of us to think a bit about Houston, about the schools that were all supposed to open this Monday, the surrounding districts, the kids, the employees, the families. They're looking at maybe getting schools open sometime in that first or second week in September, and clearly with what's happening down there, who knows? So I think it's important to realize the tragedy that's happening down there and to send our positive thoughts their way. Grateful for all of you who are here today, and for all of you who are going to be in our classrooms, in our buildings, in transit between them, doing your best to support your students and to support each other as we move forward into this next school year. I've had a bird's eye view of what it means to get ready for a school year with my younger daughter, Emily, who I had the privilege of moving out to New York about 4 weeks ago, and watching her move herself into her first school. She is going to be teaching English as a second language in the South Bronx. She's going to be dealing with some incredible transitions as a young woman from the University of Iowa, the University of Madison, and now the heart of New York. She recently found out that all of those wonderful school supplies she brought along with her to furnish her space can stay in her apartment because she's going to be a floater indefinitely. But she's handling it all with enthusiasm and excitement. And I know from the many friends of mine who are in this school district, it's what each of you do every day. She's already heard about the dreaded senior class she's going to be dealing with. And I know there are many of you who are totally excited about the challenges you're going to be facing in your classrooms, and there's some of you who are looking at it with a little bit of trepidation this year. And I wish you all the best in the space you're in as you move forward. We have a lot of opportunities for this year, and I'm really excited about the fact that we as a board are focused on doing them in a strategic way. Craig and his administration accomplished an awful lot last year. We made some real strides forward in terms of a compensation plan. We've made some real strides forward in terms of a strategic plan. The board, and I know I can speak on their behalf, we're committed to working within that strategic plan to honor the mission which is essential to us to prepare each student to be successful, and to make sure that every single item that comes in front of us, either at a board committee or at the board level, can be directly related to that mission, because that's our job. We're excited to be working with the values that have been created for our district, and the beliefs and the pillars. So my pledge to you is that we as a board are going to move forward in a strategic way. We're going to work with administration, we're going to work with all of you to ensure that the decisions that we're making are started at the ground floor and are brought forward and brought up to us in a way that we as a district believe is going to help each of our students in their own unique ways to be successful. Best wishes for the year, and enjoy the calm before the storm. Thank you.
Thank you, Meg. I appreciate your intellect, your experience, and your leadership. Please welcome Sydney Clark, SPASH Student Senate President. Sydney will offer a welcome for this upcoming school year on behalf of the student body.
Hello, everyone, and good morning, and welcome to the beginning of another school year. I didn't realize how close the school year was to beginning until I was asked to speak in front of you today. It's a privilege to stand here in front of you all today and talk about my experience in the school district and welcome you back to another year. As my time as a high school student comes to a close and I'm able to go into the next stage of life, I can't help but look back on my experience. Between coming off the bus in kindergarten, the hours spent in math, science, social studies, and a plethora of other subjects, the numerous lines waiting to get lunch with friends, and my after-school extracurriculars, I transitioned from the anxious little 5-year-old to the person that's standing in front of you today, a slightly less anxious 17-year-old. No, but somewhere along the way, I learned to love learning, how to be passionate and strive for my goals, and how to be a decent person, thanks to many people in this room. I look at my senior class, and I'm struck by how many amazing kids surround me. And that's thanks to everyone in this room. Every moment you spend helping a student, whether it's teaching in a classroom, putting together school policies, transporting kids safely to school, cleaning up after them, or developing curriculum, helps grow their mind and character. Going into the school year, I want you to remember how undeniably important your jobs are. Thank you to the people that have helped me get where I am today. Thank you all for putting in the time into each student. And lastly, thank you for letting me speak in front of you today. Let's have a great school year moving forward together.
Thank you, Sydney. You should come back up here. You're a lot more poised than I am on the podium. We're up on the stage. Nice job. Thank you. At this time, it is an honor to recognize the recipients of the Educational Enrichment Fund. The Educational Enrichment Fund supports individual staff scholarships, programming, and general projects in our schools. All forms of literacy, individual development, leadership, skills enhancement, and improving of human minds in education are an asset not only to the grant recipients, but the community as a whole. The Educational Enrichment Fund awarded 8 grants last year. I'd like to welcome Steve Lang, who will recognize our grant recipients.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here again. Would the following people please come forward and step up on the stage? Mary Zinda, Faye Miller, Lynette Simonar, Rachel Graves, Nate Olson, Trish Dakins, Karen Salyenko, Amy Dulac, October Penner, Josh Hames, Jessica Smith, and Sharon Mays. Why don't you come on all up, please? As you can see, that's quite a list this year. Some years we get to be looking at 6 or 7 recipients, and other years more. The Educational Enrichment Fund was actually founded 13 years ago in order to bring projects outside of the box to the classroom. Things that aren't part of the normal budget that the board is expected to provide. So the teachers can apply for grants, anywhere from $500 to $5,000 grants. We're lucky enough to award as many as $14,000 to help them in their endeavors. So, we're all here. I'll start with our first one. It's called Mindfulness for Students. It has to do with the Stevens Point Sculpture Park at Mary Zinda and Faye Miller. It's a $1,500 grant. The goal of this project is to provide students with increased awareness or mindfulness or mindfulness. Students will make peace flags as practice of their mindfulness. Mary and Faye?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next one's classroom calming kits. Jefferson and Plover Whiting Schools. Lynette Seminar, did I get that right? Good deal, thank you. The goal of this project is to make schools more trauma sensitive. Classroom calming kits will be provided to help students learn self-regulation skills. Thank you. The next is social emotional learning through sports at McKinley Center, Rachel Graves. It's a $1,500 grant as well. The goal is to help students learn and understand diversity and help develop empathy through sports and activities. Thank you. The next, a shocking proposal from Ben Franklin Junior High, Nate Olson and Trish Dakins. It's a $1,439 grant. The goal is to help students understand the benefits of renewable energy from the sun, wind, and water. Alternative energy snap circuit kits will increase the understanding of how renewable energy can be utilized to improve our community. Thank you. Next, flexible seating in the classroom empowers students through their choice. I have to tell you that there were an awful lot of grants having to do with flexible seating. Some years we get iPad requests, other years we get flexible seating. This was one where flexible seating seems to be what's out there right now. But this grant request seemed to be just a little bit more geared to that outside of the box learning experience that we're looking for. So that was Karen Salyenko and Amy Dulac. Bringing the community to you VR style. This is October Penner, a $1,500 grant. The goal is for students to increase content using high-tech VR and 360-degree equipment and sharing these with an authentic audience on a public website. And then from bottle to bioreactor, it's a PJ Jacobs project, Josh Hames and Jessica Smith. A $675 grant, and the goal here is to show how easy you can create effective compost in your own home. Using laptops, Vernier Lab Pro equipment, and electronic balances, students will log information to create the effective compost. Thank you. And finally, the Roadrunner News Crew. It's at Roosevelt School. Sharon Mays, a $130 grant. The goal is to have students deliver morning announcements with an innovative use of technology. This will foster leadership and communication. Students will use live stream video, YouTube links, and microphone technology to present the news reports that they write. Thank you, Sharon. So in closing, we'd like to encourage all of you to apply for a grant next year. And what we're really looking to do is try to keep it as something that some of your wildest ideas. Use the utmost, the edge of your creative powers, and see if we can't bring you up on this stage next year. So thanks very much, everyone. We appreciate being part of the school district. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve, for your involvement and leadership with the Educational Enrichment Fund. Also, thank you and congratulations to the recipients. You obviously go above and beyond in your classrooms. We are fortunate to welcome a diverse group of staff representing recent college graduates, as well as experienced veterans. It's always exciting to integrate new people with various backgrounds with our current experienced and talented staff. In my second year as superintendent, I continue to enjoy working with and developing my administrative team. Not unlike many other departments, we have added several new members to our district leadership team. New to our administrative team this year is Beth Bakanovich. I'm still working on that, Beth. I think I got it. Director of Human Resources. Beth has a wealth of experience in HR, including the last 17 years as the HR Director for the City of Wisconsin Rapids. Please welcome Beth Bakanovich to our school district. Our new Director of Elementary Education is Corey Hirschbruner. Corey comes to Stevens Point via the Monroe School District and has experience as an elementary teacher, principal, director of instruction, and superintendent. Please welcome Corey Hirschbruner. And hired about a week ago, Chris Budzinski joins our district as our new transportation director. Chris has a well-rounded background and various supervisory experience to bring to our transportation department. Please welcome Chris Budzinski. And Danny Koenig will be joining the Student Service Department as a special education supervisor. And Danny comes to us through the Verona School District as an instructional coach. Please welcome Danny Koenig. We've got several other new staff I'm going to recognize, and with practice, including the phonetic spellings, I hope I can get through these and do justice to your names. Please welcome Jennifer Trelka to our Transportation Department and Corey Perrin. Please stand up. Where are they? Please stand and welcome Dawn Collins and Amy Johnson to our early childhood team. Please welcome Susan Bracco to the Boston School Forest and David Owen to Bridges. I believe those two schools in itself have 2 staff members at each, so welcome. Please welcome to Bannock, Carrie Peterson and Ann Kruthoff. Please welcome to Jefferson School, Amanda Hyman, Brianne Jeanan, David Juliet, Bree Kiefer, Laura Stephenson, and Sue Washabeck. Please welcome to Madison Elementary School, Megan Juliet, Betsy Miller, and Molly Williams. And please welcome Hillary Trabetowski to McKinley Elementary School. New at Plover Whiting, Taylor Nelson, Mike O'Donnell, and Barry Walsh. Welcome. Please welcome Tori Bradley and Aaron Trinkner to Roosevelt Elementary School. New at Washington, welcome Angela Berger, Margaret Linsmeyer, Kirsten Peterson, Washington Elementary. And new this year at Pods, please welcome Caitlin Collick, Rebecca Grulke, and Lindsay Westfall. Please welcome to Ben Franklin, Emily Haluska, Katie Huber, Michael Huber, Joe Korb, Juliana Nania, and David Stelzer to Ben Franklin Junior High. Please welcome to PJ Jacobs, Luke Bailing, Matt Bredesen, Colleen Buto, Chelsea Gritzmacher, Chad Harger, Colleen Harger, and Deb Kunst. Please welcome to Charles Fernandez Center, Heidi Sprecher Katzmarek. Did I get that right? All right. And finally, welcome to SPASH, Gary Beyer, Megan Klabitz, Christy Elhert, Jamie Grice, Taylor Hardy, Carmen Johnson, Greg Marty, Nicole Nelson, Jenna Peterson, Nicole Schofield, Vicki Shafransky, Carissa Smith, Brian Swenson, Trissa Wojcik, Kindon Vasquez, and last but not least, Brooke Zimmer. Welcome to SPASH. I apologize if I missed anyone. Literally, we were hiring people late yesterday afternoon. I still believe we have one, maybe two openings to fill. In addition, there are many staff members that transferred from one position to another, one building throughout the school district. Too many to mention without missing several people. Good luck to all of you, whether you're new to our district or if you're going to be in a new building or in a new department. Good luck building bridges with the new folks that you'll be working with. Thank you. All successful organizations have a continuous improvement model that sets and measures goals. Bear with me a few minutes as I recap a few of last year's successes, preview this coming school year, and discuss the importance of moving together as a team. Last year, the school board and I established 4 goals to serve as priorities for me throughout the school year. The first goal was to develop a strategic plan. With the help of many of you, we accomplished this goal as our strategic plan was adopted by the school board last spring. The second goal was to build bridges of communication between myself and the school board, constituents, and staff. This really isn't a goal, rather, it's an essential duty and responsibility of mine each and every day. I will continue to strive to be an effective communicator with everyone. The third goal was to adopt and implement a capital improvement plan. This is still a work in progress. Tom Owens and I, Tom is the Director of Business Services, have been working with the consulting service to assess the facility needs to include building infrastructure issues as well as preventative maintenance. Additionally, the assessment will include proposed building additions and remodeling options that will improve learning spaces for all students and staff. The facility needs will be presented to the school board this fall and will have several options to address all of our needs. These improvements will need the support of everyone in this building to move forward and make them a reality. Stay tuned, there will be a lot more on that particular issue as we go through the school district this fall and into the next school year, or into the next year. My final goal was to continue progress on an employee compensation model. Last year at this podium, I promised to make this my #1 priority. With the help of many, we were successful as we now have school board approved compensation models. However, this doesn't mean that the work is over. It's not perfect. There are still some unresolved issues that we need to continue discussing. I stated many times over the course of last year that if we wait to create a perfect plan, we'll never get anything off the ground. That said, with input from the teacher and support staff compensation committees, we will continue to discuss compensation issues. I firmly believe that all of you need to be fairly compensated. Employee retention and attraction will continue to be a major factor in building strong school culture and climate. And I think that we'll all agree that a strong culture and climate has a direct correlation with student achievement. This year, I'll focus on only one goal, which is to implement our 5-year strategic plan. A committee of around 35 people representing the school board, staff, community and business leaders, as well as parents and students, worked collaboratively over the course of 4 days to develop our strategic plan. Several of you were involved with the process and will likely agree that it was a very energetic, motivating, and positive process. That, however, was the easy part. Now we have to implement it. Every strategic plan begins by creating or reviewing an organization's mission and vision. Appropriately, our mission is to prepare each student to be successful. You heard Meg refer to it earlier. You'll hear our school board refer to it on a regular basis. Our mission hasn't changed over the past several reviews, as the committee felt very strongly that we should keep it the same. That was reinforced by one of our committee members, Dale Steinmetz, who graduated last year. As a member of our committee, made it very clear that it's important to focus and have those words, focus on students. Our vision is to be the leading innovative school district, empowering lifelong learners to strengthen our communities. Our vision represents our highest expectations for both our staff as well as our students. Excuse me. The foundation of our strategic plan are the 4 pillars that will serve as our focus not only for this year, but also over the course of the next 5 years. Our district pillars are further defined and supported by the following strategic objectives. We will focus on key performance objectives each year with these identified areas in order to meet the needs of our students. The first pillar, fostering student engagement, growth, and learning, was developed to improve student engagement and achievement in an inclusive environment focused on literacy and the development of the whole child. The second pillar, developing and retaining quality staff, was created to foster a united culture through communications, collaboration, and all staff development focused on student outcomes. The third pillar, responsibly managing finances, facilities, and operations, was developed to prioritize and align resources and promote a healthy, sustainable, and financially stable learning environment. And the last pillar, connecting schools, families, and community, may be the most important, and was created to develop and strengthen partnerships with families and community to collectively support students. Our strategic plan offers a framework for continuous school improvement. However, to make progress, we need to address issues with an outward mindset. I recognize the importance of having an open mind. How we look at situations does make a difference in the way we work with one another. Given that, I have invited Wendy Minch to provide our administrative team with professional development opportunities around outward mindset. We have Wendy, actually, she's with us today. Wendy, thanks for coming, I appreciate it. Approaching our work with an outward mindset lends itself to working together as a team as we serve our students, rather than an inward mindset that may serve ourselves. Your mindset as a staff member is crucial to our school district, as you serve as our greatest asset. I mean that and I believe that. As we move forward as a school district to improve opportunities for kids, please recognize the importance of building relationships with one another as well as students that we serve. Everyone in this room plays a vital role in the lives of our students, and they can't succeed without you. Given that, I want to say thank you to all of you for the good work that you do and for having a positive impact on our students. At this time, I'd like to ask you to recognize one another and your your fellow colleagues. Each and every one of you bring value to the Stevens Point Area Public School District. At this time, would our custodians and maintenance staff please stand, as well as our clerical, food service staff, administrative assistants, bus drivers, and IT department. Please, all of you stand up. Thank you. These groups of staff work tirelessly behind the scenes on day-to-day operations. Oftentimes, what they do goes unknown from one day to the next. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Educational assistants, please stand. Thank you. Quite frankly, our teachers and our buildings couldn't function without that group. And please join me in supporting our teachers, student service staff, administrators, coaches, and school board. Please stand. Let's give them a hand. Thank you. That was your seventh inning stretch. It's a pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Tom Thibodeau. Tom is a professor and chair of religious studies and philosophy at Viterbo University. Over the years, Tom has become a distinguished professor of servant leadership while serving as the director of the Masters of Arts in the Servant Leadership Program at Viterbo. Many of you may have had Tom as a student. With passion and humor, Tom will share stories reflecting a life dedicated to serving others. Please join me in welcoming my longtime friend, Tom Thibodeau.
I'm nervous. I grew up in Wisconsin Rapids. We always looked up to and envied the people in Stevens Point. If you were dating a girl in Wisconsin Rapids and then you told others, where are you going on your date tonight, and you said Point, people would go, ooh. It's a step up. It's so good being here in central Wisconsin. And it's so good being introduced by my brother-in-law. My brother. I want to just tell you about this good man. He grew up in Wisconsin Rapids. His dad, Ken Gerlach, was a police officer who worked to serve and protect the community with dignity. His dad died 2 years ago and the church was packed because this good and humble man has served the people of Wisconsin Rapids, and they wanted to show their appreciation. His mom, Nancy, a waitress who served us food, cleaned up our messes, picked up our dishes, smiling all the time. Leadership is who you are. And Craig comes from a family that is dedicated to service and goodness each and every day. I am so excited to be a teacher. I've been teaching for 35 years. I'm still leaking steam. I got a little gas left in the tank. I hope I got about 3 or 4 more years left. And so what I am here today is just to remind you how good you are, remind you how significant you are. I believe today that our work in education is more important than ever because our children need to be protected, respected, and connected in a community that cares about them. Is that not true? Our kids are just like ourselves. They're watching the news. They're listening to the discourse. They're seeing what's happening in Houston. They're watching the news in terms of North Korea. The high levels of anxiety amongst young people today is extraordinary. I've been working with young people continuously for the last 45 years, and they're great. How about these young people that got up here and sang and spoke and led us in the pledge? I am just so sick and tired of people my age with gray hair whining all the time. Oh, young people these days. Oh, young people these days. Listen, I was back there in the 60s. We weren't so hot. Oh, young people these days. So I want to remind you how important our work is. Tony Dungy, Football Night in America, head coach of the Colts, in his book called The Mentor Leader said this: the most significant work in America is to be involved in the life of a young person. And I echo that. See, we forget that, don't we? Sometimes we forget how important our work is. We pay attention to the naysayers. Don't. I'm here to remind you because we've become forgetful about the impact that we have in the lives of our community and our state. Much like a couple in their 80s went to the doctor, and the doctor said, well, for people in your 80s, you're in remarkably good shape. Can I help you with anything? Well, they said, we're having a hard time remembering things. Oh, that just comes with age. Get yourself a notepad and a pen and write things down. So next night they're home watching a Brewers game. The gentleman gets up and his wife said, where are you going? I get myself a dish of ice cream, he said. Well, I like one too. Write that down. I don't need to be writing down a dish of ice cream for cry-eye, but I like chocolate sauce. You know how I like chocolate? Just write that down. I don't need to write down ice cream and chocolate sauce, but I like maraschino cherries. Just 2 maraschino cherries. Just write that down. I don't need to be writing down ice cream, chocolate sauce, maraschino cherries. Comes out 20 minutes later, gives her a plate of scrambled eggs. She looks at him. Where's my toast? We're all like that. So one of the things, this is my real title. I gave this title to myself at this point in my life. I'm an ambassador for goodness. Ambassador for goodness. I figured the other team's got enough players on it. And then what I want to tell you, there's no virtue in cynicism. Have you ever seen a hospital built by Cynics Anonymous? The only thing that changes any situation was when good people get together and do good work. Do you know of another way? Aren't you just kind of amazed by the Cajun Navy that came out of Louisiana? Guys with pickup trucks and boats to save people that they'll never meet again in Houston, Texas. Yes, there's Harvey. Yes, there's devastation. But look at the goodness. Good people getting together and doing good work. And that's what you do each and every day. And I tell you what, I'm never disappointed when I put my nickel down on goodness. January 7th, 2015. I'm in Wisconsin Dells at the Kalahari, speaking to about 500 farmers. And as I'm being introduced, my pocket goes off. I pull it out, I got a smartphone. I don't know how to use it, but I got one. All of us in our 60s have smartphones. Why? We're hoping to get pictures of our grandchildren, but we don't know how to use them. That's why I always going up to young people. Can you help me with this app thing? So my pocket goes off, and my wife's talking to me. How'd you get in there? Tom. Megan was on her way to work, our second oldest daughter, in downtown Chicago. The water broke. She's in an emergency room in downtown Chicago, having our first granddaughter, 6 weeks premature. Her husband's in the northern suburbs. Our daughter's in the hospital by herself. My wife's at home just frantic. And here's our speaker, Tom Thibodeau. Come on, I gotta go. Put it back in my pocket. Well, I got in. I started talking to her, and I was a little bit tongue-tied, a little bit distressed. And then I finally said, this is what's going on in our life. Isn't it amazing, once we tell people the truth about ourselves, how they're willing to cut us slack? How you kind of come to school and you've kind of you're frantic, you kind of have a bad day, but if you explain this is what's going on, people say, that's okay, we'll take care of it. So I said, this is what's going on. My daughter was going to work this morning, the water broke. Having our first granddaughter, 6 weeks premature, in downtown Chicago, surrounded by strangers, not the regular hospital she's hoping to go to. My son-in-law's in the northern suburbs. My daughter's by herself. My wife's at home just frantic, feeling helpless, not knowing what to do for our daughter. And once I told them the truth, I got back into the rhythm of my speech. Finished the speech, walked off the stage at the Kalahari. At the bottom of the stage, there's a guy about 5'10", got a blue shirt on. Larry, come here, he says, and he hugs me. This is unusual behavior for farmers. And then he won't let me go. Holds onto my waist, flips out his wallet. Look at that. Look at that. There's my granddaughter. 5 years of age, full of life. She was born 6 weeks premature. Your granddaughter's going to be just fine. I'm praying for you and your family. Did I need that at that moment? Hello, brother. Hello, fellow human being. Got your back. Isn't that what you do each and every day? The children who come to Stevens Point Public Schools. Hello, brother. Hello, sister. Got your back. People have been struggling with their child, not knowing what to do, struggling in their own lives. Got your back. And to show you how goodness always comes around, 6 months later, I'm in Dubuque speaking to another group of farmers. Right now, I'm on the farm circuit. Really, I'm a moving speaker. Anyway, I'm telling a story about Larry, and they say, he's here. In the middle of 300 farmers, Larry's waving at me. They say, are you going to hug him? You bet I am. Well, we've gotten to be friends in the last 2 years. Every time we see each other at a farm breakfast or at a farm meeting, we hug each other. Last March, at the Professional Dairy Producers in Madison, we see each other. Come here, brother. And we give each other a hug, and he says, now it's your turn. My wife's health is failing. I need your prayers. Isn't it true? You reap what you sow. Sow a thought, reap an action. Sow an action, reap a habit. Sow a habit, reap a character. Sow a character, reap a destiny. It all comes back to you. It all comes back to you. If we are good and kind and compassionate, that comes back to us. If we are mean and bitter and cynical, that comes back to us as well. And in terms of teaching, it always comes back. My wife is a retired kindergarten teacher, 28 years in public education. And now when we go out, men, 6'2", she's 4'8", will look down and go, hi, Mrs. T, do you remember me? Isn't it amazing? I don't know all the names of the governors of the state of Wisconsin that I grew up with. I never forgot the name of a teacher that I've had. The power of our lives in each other. I have 3 daughters. The first 2 went through school like a hot knife through butter. It came for a night of a test. They may open up their book for a half hour, but they went in, they took tests. We went to parent-teacher conferences the first week of November, and the same thing. Oh, we really enjoy having your kids in class. Is there anything we can do to support you? No, they're doing very well. And that's how it went. That was our whole life in education. And then we have a 3rd daughter who's right-brained. She's not logical and sequential. And schools are tough on kids that are not logical and sequential. Thinks outside the box, creative, a 17 on her ACT. And because she wasn't measuring up to what her sisters had done, she started to feel bad about herself and was depressed. And we didn't recognize it until she said, I need to transfer schools. You know what that's like, how tender a sophomore is. But she transferred to a new high school, Central High School, in her junior year, and in the 3rd week of class, we get a call from Mr. Cartman. No teacher ever called us in September. Mr. Cartman, a 31-year veteran of public education, calls us in, sits us down, looks at us and looks at Danielle and said, Danielle doesn't know algebra. She's a sophomore, always got B's in math. Maybe people thought because we were teachers they're giving us a break and they passed her on. She didn't know algebra. And he said, because you don't know algebra, Danielle, you can't pass chemistry. And if you can't pass chemistry, you can't take a 4th year of science. And if you can't take a 4th year of science, you can't go to a state university school. I'll teach you algebra, but you'll have to come to my class every night after school, Monday through Thursday from 3 until 4. And I'll teach you algebra, and maybe you'll be able to pass chemistry with a C. But if you do, you'll be able to take a 4th year of science. Are you willing to do that? And she said yes. And Mr. Cartman, in his 31st year of teaching, spent an hour each night with my daughter teaching her algebra. She passed chemistry with a C, took a 4th year of science, went to a state university school, And tonight she's flying in from New York City to see her mom as a surprise. She works for an online women's magazine in New York City in market research, and it's only possible because of Mr. Cartman. You are the Mr. and Mrs. Cartmans of Stevens Point. Your presence in the lives of families makes all the difference in the world. We would not have our daughter if it wasn't for teachers who are our co-workers. All of you, your work is so significant. Thank you. Good work, hard work, noble work, our work. And we have to claim it for the good that we do each and every day. And isn't it amazing, though, how our lives are predicated on the goodness of all kinds of people? I've been teaching for 35 years. I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, not the brightest crane in the box. Look at me. I don't even match. I'm not new, innovative, and creative. I'm just old school. And when I began teaching 35 years ago at the university, I realized who my boss was. And oddly, my boss is a lot like your boss. See, when I first began teaching, I realized that my boss is not the Franciscan sisters who sponsor our organization. Wonderful group of women. I don't work for the sisters. I work with them. My boss is not the board. I don't work for the board. I work with them. My boss is not the president. We have a new president. She's amazing. She can do fine things in the next 5 years. I don't work for her. I work with her. My boss is not the academic vice president who oversees my work every day. My boss is a lot like your boss, a farmer in Arcadia, Wisconsin. For you, it might be somebody who lives out near Rudolph, Plover. My boss got up at 4 o'clock this morning, and by 4:30 was in the barn milking. Then my boss is spending all day long making sure that his animals have fresh water and crop. He's checking in terms of the moisture content of his beans and his corn, working on his machinery, ready for harvest. At 7 o'clock tonight, my boss goes back out in the barn and milks again. Then my boss takes the money from his milk check and pays taxes, insurance, pays for his machinery, buys food and electrical for his family. And with what's left over, he pays tuition for his son or daughter to become a terrible graduate. And I ask myself each and every day, am I worthy of that man's sacrifice? All those people who work on our behalf so that we can have the work that we do each and every day, everybody's work is significant and contributes to the common good. Craig, thank you for having everybody stand up because everybody's work is important. Do you know how long it takes for somebody to choose where they're going to go to college? 7 minutes. They do studies on all this kind of stuff in terms of marketing research. 7 minutes. So let's say you got up in Stevens Point today, say, let's drive over to the west coast of Wisconsin and look at that Viterbo University. So you drive over there 2 hours and 25 minutes. First thing you look for is signage. Can you find the place? Second, is there visiting parking space? Am I welcome? Then you walk to the front doors. Is it clean? I walk through your front doors. I walk down your hallways. They sparkle. Then, what you do, because you were drinking coffee for 2.5 hours, you look for the nearest bathroom. You walk into the bathroom. Does it stink? You're not sending your kid to a college where the bathrooms stink. Is there soap in the dispensers? Are there towels? Then you go out and you meet an administrative assistant who hands you over to a 20-year-old student, and in 7 minutes, you make the determination whether or not you want to send your child to college there and spend thousands of dollars. The reason I have a job? Wayne's the housekeeper in that building. And if you drive to Viterbo this morning, you'll see a 1996 Astrovan parked in the parking lot. It's Wayne's. As a housekeeper, in order to have a little more money, he delivers papers for the La Crosse Tribune. He gets up at 4, delivers papers for 2.5 hours. 7:30 in the morning, there's Wayne at work. He's got his wastebasket, got a squeegee mop, got the tools that he needs for wiping off boards and cleaning up toilets. And he stands there, and as people come in, he gives them knuckles. Be strong. Be strong. Be strong. Today's a good day, tomorrow will be better. Be strong. Last year, the valedictorian of a student that was chosen to give the graduation speech at Viterbo, short little guy came from a small town and said, listen, when I came, I was terribly homesick. I didn't know if I could hack it here. And Wayne would come up to me every day and say, be strong, today's a good day, tomorrow will be better. He did that for me for 2 years. I'm here today because of Wayne. Thank you, Wayne. Everybody cheered. Not everybody knows the college president, everyone knows Wayne. Last year, on the last day of class, a young man has 32 ounces of Mountain Dew. takes a sip, puts the top on lightly, runs up 3 flights of stairs, trips on the 3rd floor. His Mountain Dew flies out of his hand, hits the wall, hits the floor, the top pops off, Mountain Dew sprays all over the landing, all over the walls, and then starts rolling down the treads. Young man comes up, "Oh, Wayne, I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to spill it." Wayne's response, "Thank you for telling me when it's wet. A lot easier for me to wipe up when it's wet than when it's dry." So Wayne gets to work. "Get back up to class," he says. He wipes off the walls, and he wipes off the landing, and he wipes off the treads. Then he goes down to the vending machine and gets another 32-ounce bottle of Mountain Dew. Comes back up to the classroom. The young man sees him, and Wayne goes. And the young man comes over with trepidation, and Wayne pulls out the Mountain Dew. "Here, I thought you'd be needing this." Tell me, does Wayne make Viterbo University a better place to teach at? Does he make his neighborhood a better place? Does he make the lacrosse community a better place? Why? Each and every day, what's his mission? Be strong. Today's a good day, tomorrow will be better. Talk with each other. Who's your Wayne? Audience participation now. Who's your Wayne? With each other. Who's your Wayne? All right. Those of you who are kind of extroverts, just shout out your name of your Waynes. Diane. Linda. Lori. Okay, you got a lot of them. Here it is. I'm speaking at a corporation in Milwaukee, and every month now they have the Wayne Award. The person who's kind of given service, they give him a shirt with a Wayne on it. I told Wayne he wants royalties now. Here's what's really important, the names of the people that you shouted out. How often have you thanked them and recognized them? In a longitudinal study, evidence-based research, a 10-year study, this is what they determined. People who do good work and are not recognized, it's more painful than to be bullied or harassed. People who do good work and are not recognized, it's more painful than to be bullied and harassed. How often do we take the Waynes for granted, the Ken Gerlachs for granted, teachers for granted? Good work, hard work, noble work, your work. In a book that I'm recommending to every group that I speak to, it's from Thomas Friedman called Thank You for Being Late. And I know that you don't necessarily recommend books to teachers on the first day of school, but it's very thoughtful, and I just want to mention that. Friedman's a columnist for the New York Times, and he interviews people at breakfast. And what he's noticed over the last 10 or 15 years is that people have been showing up for breakfast 10 and 15 minutes late. And people are just like ourselves. What happens when you're 10 or 15 minutes late? You come in and you're just really kind of frantic. Oh, the traffic today. Oh, the kids today. I wasn't able to get here. And people are frantic, and Friedman would smile and say, "Thank you for being late." And people look at him quizzically, "Thank you for being late." And he said, "You just gave me 15 minutes for reflection that I wasn't going to have today." And he said, I began paying attention, and I thought, if I have so little time for reflection, I bet that's with everyone. For those of you who are teachers don't have the whole summer off. All during the summer you were reading, you were looking at curriculum. Anytime you watch a movie or find something in a magazine, I could bring this into my classroom. How many of you have time for reflection for 15 minutes at a time? How many of you have a time just for yourself? And in fact, most Americans, unless you have a lock on your bathroom door, you have no privacy. At one time, I thought, well, it's our cars. Nobody wants a carpool. Why? Your car's one of the last places you're by yourself. Now you got Bluetooth, not even alone in your car. So you began to pay attention. What's going on? Because people's lives are just so full. I mean, I'm not a peeping Tom, I'm a listening Tom. No, I sat over here with my friend Wendy because I didn't want to listen in your conversations. But if you see me at a tavern at McDonald's, you best move. No, really, because you listen. How you been? Oh, I've been busy. How was your summer? Oh, just so busy. How about the fall? Oh, it's just so busy, busy, busy. It's like we're saying, I can have my heart attack before you have yours. Everybody has to go busy, busy, busy. Don't raise your hand. Don't raise your hand. Some of you are going to want to raise your hand so badly right now. Don't raise your hand. How many of you make lists? Yeah. And then you do something that's not on a list, you write it down so you have the joy of checking it off. People said, how you been? Oh, I'm so busy, busy, busy. How are you? Oh, I'm 2 weeks behind. School hasn't started. Everybody's so busy. What are the average number of days that people in the state of Wisconsin took for a vacation last year? 3. What's happened to all of our wonderful resorts up north? Going out of business. People aren't taking a week to go fishing. Instead, what they're doing, 3-day weekends at the Wisconsin Dells at a water park. Shoot me and send me to hell. No, it really is. It's kind of this kind of frantic stuff. And he says 3 things are taking place that you cannot keep up with, an accelerated rate of change. These 3 things. 1, technology. Technology is not changing every 24 months, it's changing every 18 months. Computers are now programming computers. I work at the farming community. Cows are wearing Fitbits. No kidding. As cows increase the number of steps, that means they're ovulating and ready for insemination. There's an image for you at 9 o'clock in the morning. Every cow has a computer chip. No kidding. And they put computer chips on a cow, and the cow walks up to the feeder, and it gives the calf what it needs. I was speaking to the professional dairy producers, 1,800 people like are here today, and we got our picture taken by a drone. For those of you who are younger, it's not if you're going to buy a driverless car, it's when you're going to buy a driverless car. Electronic billboards, they scan your license plate, so they have the demographics. So at 4 o'clock when you drive by, they have the products that you're most wanting to buy. Isn't it extraordinary in terms of technology? Second, what's taking place? Globalization. I was working in a district in northern Wisconsin last week. 65% of their student body is Hispanic. La Crosse Tribune this summer, pictures of Mexican families that are packing up and going back to Mexico because they're not sure about immigration, and dairy farmers are wondering where they're going to find their workforce. Go to St. Michael's Hospital, go to Aspirus, and you look and you see the providers are the doctors only from Wisconsin, Illinois, and Iowa. People from all over the world come to heal us. Our farmers last year produced the best crops they've ever had. What was their reward? Lower commodity prices. Now this year they thought they might get a break, but the Argentine peso is stronger, so Argentinians are growing more corn. You do hard work and you can't even control your own prices. Globalization is affecting all of us, and the world that we're preparing our students for is changing rapidly. And third thing is climate change. And he says this is not a political discussion. Mother Nature pays attention to 3 laws: chemistry, biology, and physics. And he says, how do you begin to deal with this kind of change? And he writes this, and it's so prophetic for this morning. He says, the only way you can adapt to this kind of change is to be able to live in the eye of the hurricane. What's in the eye of the hurricane? Calm, still, quiet. He says, the eye of the hurricane moves along with the storm. It draws energy from it while creating a sanctuary of stability inside it. It is both dynamic and stable, and so must we be. We can't escape these accelerations. We have to dive into them, take advantage of their energy and flows where possible, move with them, use them to learn faster, design smarter, and collaborate deeper so that we can all build our own eyes of the hurricane to propel ourselves and our families confidently forward. The closest analog for the eye of the hurricane that I can think of is a healthy community. When people feel embedded in a community, they feel protected, respected, and connected. And that feeling is more important than ever, because when people feel protected, respected, and connected in a healthy community, it generates enormous trust. And when there's more trust in the room, people grow. When people trust each other, they can be much more adaptable and open to all forms of pluralism. When people trust each other, they think long term. When there's trust in the room, people are more inclined to collaborate and experiment, to open themselves up to others, to new ideas and novel approaches, and to extending the golden rule. They also don't waste energy investigating every mistake. They feel free to fail and try again and fail again and try again. Collaboration moves at the speed of trust. And of all the educational research in terms of student achievement, the number one characteristic that increases student achievement is relational trust. It's the trust of the adults in the building that creates the environment where children learn. Here's the truth. Students graduate. The adults stay. The health and well-being of our children depends on the health and well-being of ourselves. The way in which we interact with each other, building each other up, encouraging each other, appreciating each other for the work that we do each and every day. To acknowledge that what we do is so significant to this community. I'll tell you this. If Stevens Point does not have a healthy public education system, Stevens Point as a community begins to dwindle. Is that not true? Because when people look for a place to live and to relocate, they look at schools, then they look for housing. Your work is so important in the lives of our children, our county, and our state. Relational trust. There's so much pressure on young people these days. I look at it in my college-age students. When I talk with people, everywhere I go, people are exhausted. If any of you fall asleep while I'm talking this morning, don't be alarmed. I'm a college teacher. I have 3 daughters. I talk to people on a regular basis that don't listen. But everywhere I go, people are exhausted. People are exhausted. Many of you got up at 5 o'clock this morning, did 3 hours of work, and then came to in-service. And then because of the in-service, your day is extended because nobody else is answering your emails, preparing your curriculum or your classroom. And then you'll go home at night, and what do? You'll take care of your family, you'll take care of your extended family and your neighbors. That's what good people do, so you're exhausted. So how is it that we build a community that builds people up? Where I want to come to work. Do you realize that we spend 66% of our adult lives at work? How important it is then for us to build a healthy community amongst each other. My first job, professional job when I got back to the States, is that I worked in residential treatment with emotionally disturbed adolescent girls. That's why I'm not afraid of anybody. No kidding. And I was a director of hiring people. And this is my observation. The stronger we were as a staff, the better that we treated each other, the more difficult kids that we could take. The stronger we were, the more we trusted each other, the more extreme behaviors that we could smother with goodness and kindness and therapy. And I believe that to be true. The needs of our children continue to increase, and it's a strength, the staff of the adults, that builds them up. And there's only 2 ways to do it. 2 ways to do it. Our words and our presence. Our words and our presence. Isn't it amazing? With one word you can lift somebody up, you can tear them down. With one word you can honor somebody or you can humiliate them. The power of our language. Oh, certainly we have freedom of speech. I can say whatever I want, but please understand words have consequences. Words are as powerful as love. They stay with us for a lifetime. If you've lost your parents, and I hope you haven't, but when your parents die, you never forget the last words that they spoke to you. They live with you for a lifetime. On the other end of the spectrum, some of us have never been back to our high school reunion because of what people said to us in our junior year. The power of our language, the way in which we talk to and with each other. Researchers in the state of Washington sent researchers into homes of people with children, gave them a clicker, one for the right hand, one for the left. Every time something positive was said to the child, click the right hand. Every time something negative was said to the child, click the left hand. How many positive comments at the end of 1 week? 19. How many negative? 378. How many kids coming to school next Tuesday have lived in a home of deficiency, where all summer long they've been criticized if people even took the time to engage them in conversation. How many times have you seen a student stay after practice or stay after class and they just kind of stand around by your desk trying to make up conversation? Why? Just to be in the presence of an adult who will listen to them and converse with them. The power of our conversations. William Glasser, when he did his research on quality schools, said there's two things that he looked at in terms of schools, and this is quality education by two things I've already observed. One, is there laughter there? You laugh easily. You like each other. That's what we always suspected in Wisconsin Rapids. People in Point had more fun. Really? What does it sound like when people are stressed out? How do people laugh when they're stressed out? It's like constipated joy. It's stuck. I'm sorry. It's been over 2.5 years. I shouldn't be over it by now. That Seattle game. Packers in Seattle, we're 1 minute from the Super Bowl. 1 minute from the Super Bowl. Catch the ball and fall down. Catch the ball and fall down. Didn't happen. For the next month in Wisconsin, how are you? It's like that every day in Minnesota. No. What it is there laughter there? Why? You have to be comfortable if you can laugh. When you were a kid, who are the adults that you like to hang around with? Adults who were fun. Laughter is the shortest distance between two people. I don't have to convince any of you to work any harder. I have to convince you to nurture joy. I'm 67. I've loved the teaching life. But I have a regret. I worked so hard teaching other people's children that sometimes I neglected my own. I gave so much to teaching that sometimes I came home and all my wife got was leftovers. So for those of you who are beginning your career, those of you who are at mid-career, please love and be committed to your students, but please don't forget the people at home. They need your joy as well. So laughter, if you paid attention to. Second, the level of conversation in the employees' lounge. We create our organizations, we create our lives, we create our democracy by the way in which we talk to and with each other. Our conversations matter. Our conversations matter. Do you realize if you go to the hospital and there's conflict at the nurse's station, it impedes your immune system by 15%? Teachers, who are the people who are hardest on teachers? Other teachers. The job's too hard. Lift each other up. I speak to nurses who are leaders, and I said, do you still use that term, nurses eat their young? And they all kind of laugh, and I say, knock it off. You're losing 50% of all nurses in the first 5 years. Can we afford to lose any more teachers? Can we afford to lose any more nurses? Build people up rather than tear them down. Now here it is. Look for the good stuff. Whatever you pay attention to, you get more of. Whatever you pay attention to, you get more of. And I'm never disappointed. I'm always encountering good people. I'm always seeing good stuff. Are you not? All those people who serve us each and every day, these young people that were standing here before you, your colleagues, look for the good stuff. 12 years ago, last Thursday of January, I'm in Appleton at the Paper Valley Inn speaking to the alumni of a terrible university about all the good stuff happening on our campus. Now it's 8 o'clock at night. All I've had to eat are hors d'oeuvres. The next day I have to go to Fond du Lac and do another presentation, so I don't have a place to stay. I didn't have anything really to eat. I'm walking through the lobby of the Paper Valley Inn, and I bump into a gentleman. Excuse me, sir. Mark! Tom! It's my brother Mark. He's the district attorney of Adams County. I hope none of you have ever met him. I said, what are you doing here? He said, I'm here for the State DA convention. He said, what are you doing here? I said, I'm giving a talk for Viterbo. I said, what are you doing now? He says, I'm going to go to Subway and get a sandwich. I said, we're old enough. Let's go to the tavern. We went in, we sat down, we had a beverage and a sandwich. He said, Where are you staying tonight? I don't have a place to stay. He said, why don't you stay with me? The state's already paid for room. I got a king-size bed if you don't mind sleep with me. Not at all, I said. Went and got my stuff, came up to his room. It was time to go to bed. We both got up, took our medication. That time of life. Hopped in bed with each other. He hit the lights, and instantly, we're 12 and 11 again. The last time we slept in the same bed, we're 12 and 11. We're laughing, we're giggling, we're snorting. You know, just like 12 and 11-year-old boys do. Then he starts talking about our grandmother Florence, who inspired and influenced us for a lifetime. My grandmother went to 8th grade in Coleman, Wisconsin. 16 kids in the family. 18, she moves to Milwaukee, became a beautician. 1937, my grandfather was hit by a trolley car, and my grandmother was a single-parent businesswoman throughout the Depression. 5 children under the age of 11. She'd get up in the morning, feed the older 4, give them the care of the 11-year-old, take the baby down to the shop and begin cutting hair. At 10 o'clock, she would nurse her baby, and she had a friend who had given birth to twins, and the father of the twins brought him over, and she nursed 3 babies at 10, at noon, at 3, and 5, and then went upstairs and took care of her children. When I was growing up, my mother was not in good health. My grandmother would come to Wisconsin Rapids for a week every summer, and she cleaned and organized and sewed, do things my mother was not strong enough to do. 5 o'clock at night, she went upstairs, got ready for the evening, came down for supper, taught us how to make a brandy old-fashioned sweet. Taught us how to play sheephead. And then she gave us good cards because she wanted us to win. She wanted the best for us. When my brother went to law school, he lived with Grandma, and he'd come home at 11 o'clock at night. There'd be a plate warm in the oven. We talked about our mom and our dad. Dad's been dead for 18 years now. Mom's been gone for 12. We talked about our uncles and aunts. We talked about our cousins. We talked about our brothers and sisters. We talked about our wives. We talked about our children. We talked about our friends. We talked about our co-workers. We talked about the good work that we've had the privilege of doing these last 50 years. And in the dark of the night, we were reminded that we've been loved for a lifetime. The good stuff. The good stuff. With the person right next to you, what's some of the good stuff in your life right now? Just talk with the person right next to you. What's the good stuff in your life right now? All right, let me interrupt here just a moment. We'll kind of come right back to it because we're going to finish up here very quickly, but here it is. What did you see on people's faces as they start talking about the good stuff? When you start talking about the good stuff, what did you discover? There's more good stuff. You got to talk about it. What happened to the energy level in this room that people started who've been sitting down for over an hour and a half? What happened to the energy level as you start talking about the good stuff? It increased. There's always more energy in the good stuff. So when you start the day with your colleagues, when you start meetings, when you're gathering with each other, can you remind yourself of the good stuff? And please, can we take time to help young people to realize the good stuff in their lives as well? A teacher wrote this for me. He said, "My brother and I used to frequently milk for dairy farmers when they went on vacation. I vividly remember when we were in college and milking for a neighbor over Christmas. The grandpa on the farm normally stopped in each evening to talk with us after milking. One night as we were leaning on the milk tank, he said, 'You know, I'll never forget what your dad and grandpa did for us. We had that barn fire late in summer and lost all our hay. It was a bad summer for getting hay dry, and it was in short supply. People were selling us hay, but it was often low quality and at a premium price. One fall afternoon, your dad and grandpa pulled in the driveway with 3 loads of the nicest third crop hay you can imagine. I asked what they wanted for it, and they said they wouldn't accept a dime. You know, I know they could have really used that hay for themselves that year and ended up feeding lower quality feed to their own cows, but I've never forgotten that moment 35 years ago. And the young man writes this: sometimes over the years I've asked myself, am I giving the best hay to someone that needs it, or keeping it for myself? Friends, you give your best each and every day to other people's children. You give your best each and every day to the Stevens Point community. You give your best each and every day to your colleagues and friends who've built this healthy community where children live and thrive and learn. Two last stories. The first one you're going to have a hard time believing. I went to college to play college football. You didn't have to laugh right away. All right, my chest has moved to my waist. I wasn't what you call a great college football player. My nickname was Charmin. I went to St. John's University, and I played for the winningest football coach in college football history, John Ghilardi. Last Sunday, the Lacrosse Tribune had an article on John Ghilardi as he turned 91. John retired 5 years ago after 60 years of coaching at St. John's. If I was going to stay at Viterbo for 60 years, I'd be 93. But when we got there in 1969, he looked at all of us and said, listen, you guys, none of you going to the NFL. You got that? Yes, coach. You're not here to play football. You're here to get an education. You got that? Yes, coach. How can you study at night if you're beating each other up there in practice? Therefore, no blocking or tackling. You got that? Yes, coach. I checked the scorecard. You don't get points for practice. Therefore, if you hurt somebody, you answer to me. You got that? Yes, coach. One other thing. Up here in central Minnesota, we don't have much daylight. We don't have time for that nonsense like calisthenics and wind sprints. You want to play in this team, you keep yourself in shape. You got that? Yes, coach. I'm thinking to myself, nonviolent aerobic football. I can do this. After 5 days, I call home and I tell my dad I'm not going to play very much. Why is that? He said. I said, these Minnesotans are all bigger, faster, and stronger than I am. He said, admittedly, he said, but if you want to quit, quit. You've earned that right. If you want to quit, quit. But if you stay in the team, I expect you to show up every day and give 100%, because if you don't, you're taking away from the effort of others who want to be successful. Best ever advice I ever got in my adult life. If you're going to be on the team, give 100%, because if you don't, you're taking away from the effort of others who want to be successful. So I'm here to tell you, I've been teaching for 35 years, and the morning I get up and I say I'm going to put in a DVD today because I'm too tired to prepare, is the morning I need to get out of the business because that farmer in Arcadia, Wisconsin works too hard for me to kind of mail it in. Now that's a standard we all have to hold for ourselves, and I learned that very early, and I'm very glad. And I stayed on the team. So without the prospect of playing very much, I showed up for every practice. Need somebody to play defensive tackle? I jumped in. Need somebody to go back and catch punts? I caught punts. Need somebody to help the trainers pick up cups? I picked up cups. There were 100 guys in the team, and we all got to dress for home games. Had 3 number 10s. One game, they all got in. I played twice. Once in my sophomore year, once in my senior year. My junior year, I just about got in. My friends came, started cheering for me. We want Thibodeau. We want Thibodeau. Gardner looked down and said, hey, Thibodeau. I said, yeah, coach. He said, go see what they want. That was my career. Now, those of you way in the back, you can't see this, but trust me, I'll show it to you later. This is Sports Illustrated. And in 2003, when John Ghilardi became the winningest football coach in college football history, Sports Illustrated sent a reporter to Collegeville for 6 weeks to cover this unusual coach when he surpassed the record of the Honorable Eddie Robinson. Now, I don't know why they did this back in 2003, but they chose a picture from 1970 when I was on the team. I never played, but I'm in Sports Illustrated. No, I didn't play. And you want to come up with, there's no scrapes on my helmet, there's no grass stains on my pants, number 17. They took my uniform and just put it right back on the shelf, didn't even have to send it to the laundry. I never played, and I'm in Sports Illustrated, and all I did was show up. Friends, each and every day you show up in the lives of children. Good work, hard work, noble work, your work. Thank you for doing it so well. A lot of people don't show up. Go to the Portage County Jail and you'll find oceans of pain in the lives of young people who nobody showed up and told them that they were loved. Go to your local nursing home and ask the staff how often people show up to see their beloved elders. And in every one of my speeches now I mention this. Do you know what's facing our country as a crisis? Last year, 47% of all birth certificates did not have a man's name on them. Men will have children but don't show up in the lives of their kids. You do. Each and every day. You are role models, surrogate parents, friends, committed citizens, and competent professionals. That's your goodness that is so essential to the life of all of us. Last story. Thank you for having me here today. What a real privilege. I didn't say anything that's new. I just try to say some things that are true about human beings and the good work that we do in education. But this is my life's work right now, wherever I go, to try to lift people up, to kind of bring us together wherever I can. And I got invited to Brooke Army Medical Center 2 years ago in San Antonio. Brooke Army Medical Center is where our wounded warriors from Iraq and Afghanistan go for prosthetics. Please raise your hand if you sent a family member to Iraq or Afghanistan these last 30 years. Look at that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. When we send a soldier, we send a family. So when we talk about 14,000 new troops going to Afghanistan, we're talking about 14,000 families. And as I travel the country, it's in smaller towns, rural towns that are disproportionate who are serving in the military. Think about this, friends. Today, 1.5% of Americans work on the farm. Today, 1% of Americans serve in the military. 2.5% of us feed us and protect us. So I went down to Brooke Army Medical Center, and they said, we'll pick you up at the airport. So I got all dressed up like a speaker, had my shirt and tie on, had my coat on, had my overcoat over my arms. It was March. I had my vertebral bag by my feet. I looked rather odd standing there. It was 95 degrees in the San Antonio airport. Everybody else was in shorts and T-shirts. Finally, a guy in flip-flops walks up and said, "You just get off the plane from Minneapolis?" I said, "Yes." He says, "Looks like it." "Are you Tom?" I said, "Yes." He says, "Look like it. Follow me, I'm your ride." But as I was standing in the airport, I was watching people. And I saw a young man in a gray T-shirt with Army emblazoned across his chest. 21, 22 tops, hair cut short, wearing a blue pair of shorts. And because he's in T-shirt and shorts, I could see his right arm was missing. His left leg was a metal prosthetic. His hand was on the handle of a stroller, and with great difficulty, he was trying to push his infant son through the airport and was becoming frustrated because he couldn't get the stroller to go where he wanted it to go. And then a young woman, 21, 22 tops, who I imagine just a year previously had said, "In sickness and health, in good times and bad, till death do us part I do," walked up to her husband, put her left arm around his waist, put her right hand on the handle of the stroller, smiled, and with love said, "Let's push together. It's just too hard pushing alone. Let's push together. It's just too hard pushing alone." I don't have any simple answers for the complex problems that we face in our communities or our schools. I don't know how we're going to move forward in terms of funding. I don't know how we're going to try to rebuild our children or our families. But I do know this, that if we push together, we got a shot. I do know this, that if each and every day we learn to trust each other, learn to lift each other up, I know each and every day that if we continue to show up in the lives of each other and our children, we'll be okay. Good work, hard work, noble work, your work, and you do it so well. One last phrase. Please repeat after me. Please help me to believe the truth about myself, no matter how beautiful it is. And one time in the course of the day, in these restrooms that are so clean, look at yourself in the mirror, smile, and go, "Sweet." Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tom. I owe him breakfast. I said if he gets a standing O, I'll buy him breakfast when he's done. I typically wait till after Tom speaks to disclose that he's my brother-in-law because I don't know what he's going to say. Oh, I've known Tom for 35 years. I married his younger sister 30 years ago, and I am a much better person for knowing Tom. Thank you so much. And to the rest of you guys today, have a great year. I greatly appreciate what you do in terms of working with our students. Have a great year. Thank you so much.